Good one. Yeah. This might be how we open this thing up.
Topwater action can be some of the most exciting fishing there is. I'm Travis again with Lucky Tackle Box, and today we're gonna break down walking baits like the Livingston Pro Sizzle, where we're gonna break down different retrievals at different locations that you can throw this bait to really maximize that crazy action out on the water. So let's break down this technique starting with rigging. So this bait is good to go right out of the box, but let's talk about some specific characteristics that are unique to Livingston. First, this bait, like all Livingston lures, is equipped with EBS technology. That's electric bait fish sounds, which means the second this bait hits the water, it's actually emitting sounds that are mimicking actual bait fish. This can be huge at triggering some of those big blow-ups. Second, this bait actually comes with a light in it. So throughout the cast, it's actually flashing a little light that can also be huge in triggering strikes. All right, when talking about the equipment, first I want to talk about the line. This is a floating bait, so I want to use floating line. So I'm either going to go with a mono or a braided line. We don't want to use fluorocarbon because fluorocarbon is going to sink and it's going to pull that bait under. Second, I'm usually going to use about a 15 to 20 pound mono, or what I prefer is a real heavy braid. I'm going to go 60 to 80 pound braid. Now, I know a lot of people go, 60 to 80 pound braid, what? Why in the world would you ever need line that heavy? Let me explain why. When you're working this bait a lot of times, as it's going side to side, if you have light line, it'll actually tangle up in the back hooks and stuff because that line is real limber and stuff, and it's gonna end up getting caught back around those in those hooks and the O-rings. However, if you have thicker line, 60 to 80 pound braid, this line is stiff. So as you're pulling that bait through the water, it's actually gonna stay more straight and you're not gonna get that tangles like you do with lighter line. Something to think about. Then the second reason is because I'm really trying to hit specific targets with this. I'm trying to get into little pockets and things. A lot of times you're gonna snag up on toolies, little brush and stuff, and so you wanna be able to really just pull that line out without having to go in there and really disturb everything. Especially if you're fishing from the shore. You use heavy line, you're gonna be able to pull this thing free of a lot of snags. So the last is rod selection. Now, I wanna emphasize there's a lot of different rods to throw on this technique because there's different actions you can get out of it. So you need enough backbone to really huck this bait out. So medium to medium heavy rod. Then it goes down to the action of that rod tip. A fast action rod tip, I can really work that bait quick. I can do tight little walking motion and get that bait moving through the water column real fast. But if I have an extra fast rod tip, that bait is actually, that tip is gonna give more and it's gonna allow that bait to really have wider walking, and also I'm gonna be able to keep that bait in one spot. If I cast it in the corner of a dock or around a tree and I really just twitch this bait, it's gonna almost stay in one place as it walks back and forth. So I have 3 different retrieves that usually work for me in most situations. First one is a fast walking motion. What I do is I put that rod tip down and I make fast little twitches with the rod as I'm reeling in the slack, and that makes that bait have a nice tight little walk to it and looks like bait scurrying across the top. Now, every once in a while, I'll pause that bait for just a second or two, and a lot of times that can be all that it takes. Is if the fish is tracking it or something, that's what they need to actually go and actually hammer that bait. The second is a wide walking motion. I call this the lazy wobble. With this retrieve, I'm trying to make that bait have a nice wide walking action. To do this, you make the cast, put the rod tip down, but you have a little bit of slack in your line as you're making these twitches. You're gonna twitch it a little bit harder and then pause. And that's gonna allow that bait to have a nice wide wobble, and because you have slack in the line, that bait will actually almost be able to kind of curve backwards. And then as you twitch it again, it'll curve backwards. This is good at really covering water nice and slowly, and a lot of times this is where I can get some of my bigger bass to bite. My last retrieve is more for specific areas. You know, when you're casting the corner of a dock or maybe the pocket in some toolies where that strike zone is real small and you want to keep that bait in one place for a long period of time. So what I'll do is I'll cast right into a little pocket of the toolies or something, and on real slack line, I'll give it a little jerk, but I want to let slack back in that line because the idea is for that bait, as it walks, you want it to curve back around, and then as you walk it again, it's gonna walk all the way back, almost returning to the same spot. The idea is that you can keep that bait in that strike zone for longer and entice some of these bigger fish that are sitting in there to basically hit it out of pure aggression. They get annoyed from it and slam it. You can really throw this bait in a lot of different areas, whether it's rocky banks, weed lines, around tules. As long as you've got open water, you don't have weeds up on the surface, you can really throw this bait and walk it in the different motions you have. Now, anytime I have a long stretch of bank, like this rocky bank, or I've got a lot of weed line or something to fish, I'll switch back and forth from basically I'll cover it first with this fast retrieve, right? So I can cover a lot of water and figure out where those active fish are. But if I get into an area where I know they're at, and I feel confident I want to fish it a little bit more thoroughly and spend a little bit more time on it, I'll go to that wider walking motion, because I can really slow that bait down, and I feel like I can really entice some fish that aren't always gonna bite something moving too fast. I like throwing this bait in shallow water. I do the best anywhere from about 1 foot to about 4 feet of water. If you're fishing any deeper, you've got to make sure you make a little bit more noise and sometimes pause that bait a little bit longer so you can entice those fish that are down deeper to come up and get it. Topwater fishing is not only effective, it can be extremely exciting. So next time you're throwing a topwater walking bait like the Livingston Pro Sizzle, make sure you're trying different locations, but you're also experimenting with different retrieves in those different areas. And you will be surprised at how much you can maximize that topwater bite. Once again, guys, Travis here with Lucky Tackle Box. Throw us a thumbs up. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below. And for any more information about the gear or the tackle that we're using in this video, check the description box below for some links.